Hey y'all, welcome to Parent Empowerment with Mandy Drogin. I'm Mandy. I'm just a mom sitting down having real conversations with real Texas parents about what's going on in our school. And today I'm so excited to be joined by some very special guests. We have Taryn, who is a mother to Hadley. Hadley is a special needs student that attends Oak Creek Academy in Killeen, Texas. And Taryn is also a paraprofessional there. Taryn, thank you for joining us. Hadley, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having us.
So,
Finesse.
you are so welcome. We're so glad that you're here to talk about empowering parents and to hear from your mom about your story and the great education that you're receiving in your private school. Do you love Oak Creek Academy?
Yes.
Yes, you
Speak
do.
up a little bit. So yes, I do.
Yes, I do.
That's wonderful. Taryn, thank you again for being here. Can you talk to me a little bit? Let's talk about your experience and how you came to Oak Creek Academy. I know it when you were making decisions for Hadley and where she would go to school. Talk to me about what you were seeing in the public school arena, and then again, what led you to seek out a private school that is specifically for students with special needs.
Well, with Hadley, I knew from the moment, well, we didn't know till delivery that she had a Down syndrome. But from that moment on, it was all an education for me. And I was very reliant on a bunch of expertise of specialists and doctors and all of those things. We got early intervention. So we had OT, PT, speech, all of those things. And all of those people were good for me to help to encourage and foster all of those things at home.
Yeah.
But at some point I realized that the sign language that we had been teaching Hadley and that she had been reliant on for her communication was not going to be encouraged in the public school district, which was a little difficult on her because she had no voice.
Yeah.
And
she was proficient in sign language because you said that you have a nephew
Yes.
that speaks, so that
I have a nephew who is deaf.
Yeah.
And so when Hadley was 10 months old, he was born and was diagnosed. We had already started sign language with her before that, but that just encouraged us to keep the momentum going.
Right.
And she took to it very, very well. So when she started school at 3, she had 68 signs. The first school she was in encouraged and fostered that throughout with her peers as well.
Okay.
And so it was beneficial and it was wonderful. Yeah. But then when we transferred over to our district school for kindergarten, we were no longer given that. The teachers were not going to continue that.
Okay.
So I found that her frustration began.
And they weren't going to continue it because she didn't have a medical diagnosis of being hard of hearing or being deaf?
No hearing impairment, so therefore they were not going to encourage sign language.
Okay, so even though that was her primary form, strongest form of communication, they said no.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's got to be frustrating as a parent that your child is a 5-year-old. I mean, that's stressful enough when you put your kids in school, but to have them told that their primary method of communication would not be followed and okay.
Absolutely. So we did 1 year of kindergarten, and then I just decided to homeschool.
In the assigned public school. Mm-hmm. Okay.
I decided to do homeschooling just because it was going to be on me to determine whether she was going to be an independent human being or not. And since I wasn't certain what she was being given while she was at school, I knew that I just had a greater interest in her outcome than anyone else would. So we homeschooled for 6 years. And during that time frame, I was repeatedly typing into the search engine anything to do with special education, private education, Down syndrome, looking into not just for her, but for myself, because I wanted to learn how to parent her. I wanted to learn how to encourage and foster those growths and developments and not overtalk her and not confuse her and not overstimulate. But it was like, how do I motivate those things?
Sure.
So I found Oak Creek in the course of the 6 years. And the day that it popped up, I called, I made an appointment to go in for a tour, and I filled out the paperwork that afternoon.
Wow. How far is Oak Creek from your home?
40 miles.
Okay, so that's not right down the street.
No.
Okay. So how long does it take you to get there?
It's probably 40 to 45 minutes. It's a relatively easy commute when it comes down to the traffic level. So
Okay.
that's convenient.
Yeah.
But it's also, it is ABA saturated. So there are therapies in-house. We house OT, PT, speech.
Can you say what those are just for our, okay.
Oh, yes. We have 3 different groups that all do therapies in our building.
Right.
And 2 of them are ABA, which is behavioral therapy, which is teaching life skills to these children. And they go as deep as going into their homes and teaching them how to clean their closets out, take out the trash.
Wow.
They also help the children learn how to go shopping and use currency for purchases and take them to restaurants and teach them how to order for themselves. But it's also a lot of behavioral therapies as well, teaching them when appropriate times are to divulge personal information and all of those social skills that most of us adapt to,
Yep.
but isn't necessarily as easy for them to understand.
Right. Well, I think it's important to say that the reason I wanted to hit that home is because we know in the traditional system that we hear all the time from families who are very frustrated because their child is not in the right environment. And those therapies that are on site at Oak Creek Academy, they're not in most public school settings because that is set up for the majority of kids, the general population. And so you're having a lot of stress on families because they have to leave the school setting or they only get to come in, once a week or whatever it is.
Well, and with speech therapy in the public school, I think when Hadley was receiving it in the public school, it was once a week.
Right.
And which is better than nothing.
Sure.
But when you're in a setting where they rent space and they are all doing the therapies out of the same building, parents don't have to take off work to
Right.
pick them up and take them. Their therapists just come and retrieve them from the classroom directly. The ABA therapists come in and actually do their therapies while they're actually in the social setting. So they're
Yeah.
curbing those social behaviors in time.
In social settings.
And so
Yeah.
it's actually very beneficial. But on the OTPT speech, occupational therapy, physical therapy, speech therapy, all of those things are things that these kids, based on their needs, have to have.
So you made the decision that it was worth it for you to travel 45 minutes each way to seek out a private school that is specifically set up and curated and providing services for children like Hadley and like so many other wonderful Texas students who really need an environment specifically for them.
Absolutely.
And so then you said you filled out the paperwork, and that would include the tuition. What is tuition at Oak Creek? Under $10,000?
It is under $10,000. I think it's roughly $250 a week.
Yeah.
So it was definitely going to be a struggle,
Right.
not necessarily fitting in the budget.
Right.
But if the long-term goal is that she can function independently, then the investment's there.
Right. It's worth it if you can, even
If you
though
can.
it's painful, especially right. And I ask that because a lot of opposition to empowering parents like yourself who know and love sweet Hadley more than anybody in the world. And you said it, you have the interest in making sure that she reaches her fullest potential and she learns. So many people try and claim that if students leave the public school setting, that they won't be given their services or that the private schools won't meet their needs. But what you're telling me is you found the opposite.
Absolutely. I don't know why anybody would choose a private school if it didn't meet their needs.
Right. That's right. So let's talk about your commute is about 45 minutes. And what about commuting with other students that did the Google search as well? I know that you're in mom groups and you talk to lots of moms in your area who have children with special needs.
Yes.
Can you talk to us a little bit about how that played out as you were commuting?
Absolutely. I have posted on neighborhood sites and Facebook just to let people know that it existed, knowing that I did not mind the transferring of those students if they needed it. We've had I have a girlfriend that we met during homeschooling 9 years ago, I guess it is now. Her son has Down syndrome with a dual diagnosis of autism.
Okay.
And he lost a lot of ground during the pandemic because therapies were all going to be virtual and there was less stimulation. So I mentioned to her several times, and she had looked it up and realized how far it was. And she was just like, I just don't think we can make it happen.
Yeah.
They live in Leander, which would be an hour and a half commute.
It's long.
So at one point in time, she finally reached out and said, okay, that's it. I want to come see the place just for fun. Let's just see. So they came out to visit, and each one of the high school kids went straight up to her son and reached out and extended a hand and said, my name is, what is your name? And for the first time in his, at that time, 16 years of life, no one had ever addressed him directly. So at the end of this tour, she was outside and she was tearing up and she said, he has to go here. He has to. He's finally found something. So she did. And they did the commute 45 minutes every morning to meet me. And then the other 45 minutes he was with me and we drove. And he only went 3 days a week because it was just not feasible to do every day. But she said that he was awake at 4 a.m. getting ready. He had woken himself up. He was so excited. And this happened every day that he came to school. He woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning and started getting ready all by himself.
That's amazing. I'm getting teary-eyed because I can only imagine being having a special need and not being addressed, not having your peers particularly talk to you as you're an equal and just a child. So that's beautiful that you were able. And that is a huge commitment, but that does show the level of support and the love that he must have felt being in that environment.
Yes.
Well, God bless you for taking that on. And you took on a lot of kids, right?
Yeah, we've had several. We've had a couple of military families that once they got out, one family moved to Georgetown because they were in the medical field. And once they got out of the military, that's where they decided that was best for the family.
Right.
But their son had been at Oak Creek for 6 years, I think, and he wanted to graduate from Oak Creek because that's where he thrived. Yeah. And so he wants to be a pilot. He's going to go on to college. He's going to do all of the great things, but he just wanted to be in a peer group where he was understood by everyone around him.
That's fantastic. So great to hear. So let's talk about, not only are you a Sherpa or an Uber, I guess.
I am.
For students that are seeking out a great education, but you're also a paraprofessional at the school.
I am.
So let's talk about that. You said, that you were making this commute every day, and between going back and forth, you decided you wanted to work at Oak Creek Academy.
Well, I actually filled out the paperwork before I even had a plan as to what I would do with that length of drive. So I knew that it didn't make sense to drive there and back twice a day. So when I went in and filled out the paperwork and Hadley was enrolled, Tracy looked at me, the principal, and said, so what are you going to do? And I said, I guess I'll just start looking for a job around here. And she said, well, why not a job in here? And I said, that would be perfect.
That
amazing. Sounds great.
Oh, that is so awesome.
So not only do I get the benefit of being with Hadley all the time, like she's not in my class, but I get the benefit of giving her a hug and a squeeze and, whatever throughout the course of the entire day. But I also have the advantage of absorbing all of the knowledge of the people around me, which was almost even a greater gift than her getting what she needed from the school. Me getting what I needed from the school was priceless.
That's amazing. So let's talk about the school.
Okay.
Because again, we hear this all the time. Well, there aren't private schools that will take kids with special needs or that are for kids with special needs. And the reality is there's nearly 70 schools, accredited schools across the state of Texas that are specifically designed for students with varying special needs. What makes Oak Creek Academy so special? When they're there in the hallways, why is it such a special place? And why is it the best place for the students that are there?
I think anytime you find a private school that is specifically targeted for a demographic, the knowledge is what's so beneficial. So having all of the people in this building on the same page when it comes down to the end goal of independence. a lot of the training that goes into teaching these kids to be independent requires a lot of repetition, a lot of consistency, and not coddling. It's a matter of if you drop it, you pick it up. If you spill it, you clean it up. I will assist you in all of it, but it's your job. You did it. So teaching them accountability, culpability, all of those things. But the social expectations, the habits, and the consistent things that we naturally do as individuals. When someone says good morning, you say good morning in return. That doesn't always happen with children who have any form of social diversities. And so Hadley in particular has a tendency to shut down a little bit after multiple social expectations. So she says good morning the first time or two, and after that she starts to grunt, groan, and kind of scoff about everything.
I don't blame her.
But everybody that she scoffs at stops her and makes her complete that process, because that is an expectation that will not be condoned long term.
That's great.
So the benefit of our school is that everybody in the building is well-versed and well-educated and determined to look these kids in the face, and even when they do something that makes you want to laugh, holding steady and saying, that's not okay, we're not going to do that, so that they can learn right from wrong.
And let's talk about how that's different in the public school setting, where I heard you say that oftentimes it's, oh, she's so cute.
Yes.
And as a mother, you said at birth is when you found out that she had Down syndrome. And so obviously the trajectory of her life looks like is going to be different than what you would probably imagine. But regardless of that, you're still a mother and you want to see your child reach their full potential.
Absolutely.
Which means teaching them and giving them those skills. So what is the difference that you see in what's being delivered at the public school setting, both in obviously, 1 hour of therapy for this or 1 hour of reading help or whatever it is. But in your school, it is focused on teaching them. So can you give a little bit of a comparison of why so many families are asking for Oak Creek? I know there are families that are begging for Oak Creek to grow and expand because they're being so successful with students. So talk a little bit about the difference and why parents like yourself that want to see the same thing happen with your special needs child as your other two children.
Well, I think some of the differences, because I obviously am not against public school in general, it just didn't suit this particular child. The special education classroom was pretty isolated. It was a pretty separated location, and there wasn't as much inclusion is kind of sort of something that is a word I don't necessarily agree with, because inclusion makes it sound like it's going to be even Steven across the board.
Yeah.
But inclusion means the general public, but everyone is welcome. So when it comes down to a child who doesn't socially or academically meet the same expectations as the peers, they're still kind of an odd man out. It just is.
They're
what
not
it is.
included. They're just there.
They're just there. And they're teaching compassion to their peers. I mean, those things are beneficial to society in general, but not beneficial to her.
Right.
She needed to have a peer group that peer groups give and take. Everyone contributes and everyone receives, and that's what society is about. She needed to be around people that she could also benefit and that she could benefit from. And in the public school, it was sort of isolated to some degree, but also she was referred to as cute, and there was a little more coddling. And I admire teachers across the board. Special education teachers have a huge job to do, but not necessarily knowledgeable in ABA therapy or occupational therapy or speech therapy or any of those things. They are just wonderful, compassionate, heartfelt people, but they don't have the knowledge to make the changes.
Right.
And they don't have necessarily the freedom or the knowledge to educate the parents either. So that's kind of where I felt like I mostly was missing out.
Yeah.
But the other thing was the independent factor. You can't let a child with special needs run loose in a public school because there's liabilities and there's things that,
it's not set up for that.
It's not made for that. And they have to make sure they keep them safe. Whereas the private school we're at, these kids have chores. They take out the trash, they take it out to the dumpster, they leave the building to do things. Hadley changed classes a few times during the year and did it by herself. She had to put all of her things together, put her backpack on, and get to the other class. And those independent moments, I think, benefited her immensely.
Yeah.
Like, it was almost more beneficial than the education itself.
Right.
She felt so mature, and I could see the changes immediately. So that was probably the biggest difference between public and private in this situation.
I think that's interesting you point out, and this is a really great point, and I do hear this from a lot of special education parents that see this word inclusive that has been, it's almost like a pseudonym because it is anything but. It is really putting children into a situation where they're not being challenged, where they're not being educated to reach their full potential, and when they're not being included, they're just simply there, which only seems to exacerbate some of their anxieties, their issues, their concerns, because if you're not in the right environment with students that are prepared and understand what your needs are, want to include you in the activities, not just simply have you in the space, there is a completely different set of realities for children with special needs. So I'm glad that you talked about that.
And one example, I know this is shocking, but I actually spent a lot of time going in to help in her classroom when she was in public school.
Yeah.
And I noticed that what they deemed inclusion when she was in kindergarten, the teacher took the two children by the hand and walked them from the special ed classroom over to the gym and then handed their hand over to a neurotypical peer. And then that child then held their hand.
Was responsible for
and
them.
was responsible for them. And I thought, well, she's not needing to be handheld.
Right.
I mean, she's in kindergarten.
She just wants to be asked to play
She
kickball
just wants
or
to play.
foursquare or whatever.
She just wants to be in the middle of it
Yeah.
all. So I realized that was what they considered inclusion, which was really not benefiting her at all. She wasn't free playing with peers of different neurological levels. She was just being handed over to one as if she was now being babysat by someone else.
Which was maybe teaching some compassion for the neurotypical child. But what did that do for Hadley?
Nothing.
Right.
Nothing.
That's right.
Yeah.
You also touched on something that's really interesting, and I talk to a lot of teachers, a lot of public school teachers who will come and share why they're frustrated and why teacher retention is a real problem. And a lot of times people want to claim that it's money, but it's not the money. It's the expectations that are being placed on our teachers.
Absolutely.
Those that are not trained to be in a special education environment where they are not prepared to help Hadley reach her full potential and other students, and they're frustrated because they're given children that they aren't prepared to educate, and they internalize that deeply, where that the child they know is not being prepared and they are failing as teachers, and they're not behavioral therapists, they're not psychological therapists, they're not prepared. Whereas at Oak Creek and other great private schools that really are set up and curated for students with special needs.
Well, and one of the things that I've also really, really noticed, we've been there for 5 years now.
Yeah.
What I've noticed is we receive a lot of children who have been in the public school system and had combative behaviors, aggressive behaviors because of, communication barriers or whatever else is going on. There's lots of reasons for kids to get upset and feel frustrated, but we've got a lot of kids that when in the public school, all they had to do was slightly posture, and then that was a behavior that was like, okay, we're going to call mom and you need to go home. Well, when that behavior gets reinforced, then it becomes a consistent, if I want to go home, all I've got to do is feel threatening, and they send me home. So we've got parents who have missed so much work because they've had to go retrieve their child from school because of that behavior. When they finally find a place like Oak Creek where we have these ABA therapists and these behaviors can be addressed and we can continue to adapt all of these different behavioral programs to try and modify these behaviors till they become non-existent and the child feels empowered and able to do it and able to cope. And these kids get to Oak Creek, and when they get there, that posturing doesn't work, so it escalates. And it escalates. I mean, and so we deal with some pretty combative behaviors at times. I mean, it's always an interesting day, but there's some, hair pulling. There's sometimes slapping or pushing or punching. I mean, we've, as teachers, get a lot of different things coming our way until they realize it doesn't work.
Right.
And then we can actually start getting them classroom ready and educating them and teaching them to socialize and engage with their peers appropriately. So once we can get past that, then we can benefit them. Yeah. But a lot of times these kids are 12 years old by the time it's finally reached a point where the parents are just like at their wits' end and don't know what else to do. So when they finally find something like Oak Creek and the child won't be sent home, then it's like, but you've now got a fully grown body.
Right.
That's still dealing with a lot of these aggressive tendencies.
Yes.
So it's so nice when we see the breakthroughs and we see these kids go from the struggles of just trying to get out of the building to the reality that I have friends, I have teachers who care about me, and I'm gonna, I can do something. I'm capable.
That's awesome. I bet that is a great
moment
so nice
when
you see that breakthrough.
I love to see it.
That's beautiful. So one of the concerns that we also hear is that parents who leave the public school system where all these rights and guarantees under IDEA that you have to serve parents and what are students with special needs, that you're going to lose those. Were you ever concerned that you were going to, quote, lose your rights as a parent of a special needs student?
I have no idea what rights I was even being given.
No?
I don't know that I really felt like there was any. I don't know that I really felt like there was anything that was so wonderful that I would be afraid of it not coming back.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the thing about the public school district is I think they have to accept everyone.
That is correct.
And so if you left and changed your mind and came back, what are they? I mean, they would have to take you back.
Yeah.
I would assume.
Yeah.
So no, I wasn't worried about that. But the greater totality of all of Hadley's needs were going to be met with this village of people who all had so much wisdom.
Can you speak for the moms and the dads, but you talked about being in lots of mom groups of mothers with special education students. Can you talk about what they are asking for and why the education savings account is so important for the parents of students with special needs?
The group that I am a part of, the moms of special needs students, I have met more people who have relocated for the sake of getting a better academic setup for a special needs child. Mm-hmm. One family that I have met with has moved 3 times and felt like even in this third move, the child was then being kind of bullied in the parking lot on the way to the school. So even though it's a bully-free zone, this child was being sort of harassed just to get in the building. Yeah. So I've met numerous parents that just decided to go homeschool because it was easier. And for the sake of knowing that those dollars are not going to the public school anymore.
Yeah.
So if we're having to look elsewhere or we're just deciding to do it ourselves, that money's not going to go into the school anyway. But we have met so many families that would do anything and everything for their children, and the ESA would be a great asset, a huge asset. I don't even think they're thinking like that.
Yeah.
If they knew there was an Oak Creek anywhere, they would try to figure it out. But it would be great for the families that we work with now because we have so many families that serve. We have firefighters, we have military families, we have, and you and I've talked about this. It was 9 sets of twins in the building.
Yeah.
9 sets of twins. If you have twins that both need not only therapy, but have a diagnosis, surgeries, various different things that are happening, the expense that goes into a special needs student, it's beyond their mind.
Yeah.
It's beyond their social skills. It's physically, mentally, and emotionally and medically exhausting.
Yeah.
To every day, all day long, especially when you've got twin boys that weigh 200 pounds apiece. That, you know what I mean? It's like when you've got these kids that need these therapies.
And that's really important. You started naming off firefighters and servicemen, and the reality is that these are not wealthy families.
No.
And they're many of them are scraping by
Yes.
to be able to afford
Absolutely.
the tuition so that their child can be in the right
Absolutely.
environment.
Absolutely.
When
And
they
scraping by. Tracy's,
Yeah, she's
the
talked.
scholarship money that she is, trying to put together just to
Right.
keep.
The ESA would change all of that.
Oh, we have families that have been with us for 11 years. 11 years with twin children. The financial
It's a lot.
investment just to try and get them to be independent.
But it's better than putting them in
Yes.
the public school system where they are mandated.
Yes. And this is not Dead Poets Society. These are not Ivy League children that are looking, this
Right.
is not a pretentious situation.
Right.
This is a greater cause, love for children, wanting their welfare to be and all of their needs to be met.
Yeah.
Wanting them to have friendships and, it's just a matter of just finding a place where they fit.
Right. Hadley,
Yeah.
do you like Oak Creek Academy?
Yes.
What is your favorite part of your day? Do you like to go to the playground?
I go to the playground
The playground.
The playground and do the swings?
and swings.
What about running club?
About one club.
And do you do weightlifting?
Yeah.
You like that a lot?
Yes.
Can you tell me one of your friends' names?
Kara Annie.
Kara and Annie.
Kara and Annie, they're your friends.
Who else?
Aaliyah.
Aaliyah. Okay.
Aaliyah.
Nice.
That's wonderful. So you love to go to school?
Yes.
Do you love having mom there as a teacher?
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you like the chores that you have to do at school?
Yes.
You do?
Do you go pick up the lunch boxes and take them to the cafeteria?
Yes.
Oh my
I
goodness.
do.
Yes, I do.
So is it your favorite school
Yeah.
and you're happy you're there?
Yeah.
Do you think that more children should be able to go to school at Oak Creek Academy?
Yes.
Would that be great for Texans?
Yeah.
So everybody deserves to have a wonderful school.
What was school?
They do. Well, Hadley, thank you so much for being here. And your mom's a hero, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, she is. She's here. She fights for you and she's fighting for the other kids of Texas, right?
Yeah.
Well, thank you for being here with us. So, Taryn, before we close out, I would love for you to look in that camera right there and talk to the legislators. Talk to the Texans who may be apprehensive and not understand what parents with special needs students are demanding, are begging for to have access to. Talk to them about why education savings accounts are truly a lifeline for families like yours.
Okay. As a parent of a child with special needs, the only thing I have wanted from the moment we got a diagnosis to date has been that Hadley gets what she needs from her education environment. That is her peer group, her teachers, the surrounding facilities, and all the accommodations that she needs on a daily basis. And also the knowledge for myself as a parent so that I could continue to support those things at home and benefit her long term and her independence. The families that I meet with and talk with on a daily basis, all they want is for their children to be able to live a life where they feel included and understood, and they've got friends, and they're functional, and they can be productive, and having somewhere that they can go, that the people around them support all of those independent thoughts and functional skills and beliefs that they can do anything is huge for all of us. And the parents of the military families, our military families don't have the funds to support private education, but are willing to do whatever it takes to get their kids what they need. So the ESA would be huge for our families. They just need to be able to choose instead of being forced to do what is available and convenient for their children.
Thank you so much for sharing your story and being a voice for all of those moms and dads that you talk to that are asking for the opportunity to make the best selection of the educational environment for their child rather than it just being dictated to them simply based on the street that they live on.
Just want to choose.
Yep. You just want to choose. That's it. Mom and dad should be in charge. Governor Abbott says it all the time. Mom and dad are in charge, and they absolutely should be, including empowered with the opportunity to direct the funding that's allocated for their child to go to the best school. And we know that Oak Creek Academy is a fantastic school. Taryn, Hadley, thank you guys so much for joining us today. We are so grateful to have you here on Parent Empowerment with Mandy Drogin. Thank you for joining us today. I hope you have a wonderful day. And now you have the power.